God has used that product all over the world, but the thing that's happening now currently is the prison system in America is using it. We're in 31 states, I believe. Tons of units are offering both We Are Stronger and Breaking Strongholds to the inmates. There's been all kinds of profession of faith inside the prisons from guys that are watching.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jeffrey Witt.
Welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. My name is Geoff, and I'm excited to be with you today with our guest, Ulises Larramendi. Born in Cuba in 1963, Ulises moved to the U.S. in 1977, where he settled in Houston and has considered Texas home ever since. In 2006, Ulises created his own restaurant concept called Eden Cafe. But while he carries hospitality in his veins and loves what he does, he also has another passion for telling stories and acting. Ulises has been blessed to work in faith-based films and TV series glorifying God with his gifts. Ulises lives in Texas with his wife and children. Welcome, Ulises.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Geoff.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure. Good to see you again. We've met a few times. And I guess always at Content, or more specifically at Capernaum Studios.
Yeah, it was one or the other, or on set, or doing something. Yeah, it's great. I've enjoyed meeting you and Jacqueline and getting to know you guys. So it's kind of fun to come around full circle and be on your podcast.
Yeah, and I know it's going to be a good interview because, I'll be a little vulnerable here and tell everybody I've actually tried to do this at least twice before. When we did some bonus episodes at Content this past year, I interviewed Ulises not once, twice. I'm not sure if we tried it a third time. Did the interview, and when I went to go do the editing, my microphone had been glitching and the audio quality wasn't good enough. So we had to kind of just say, Ulises, we're just going to do this later, but at least we'll get a full interview in.
Well, the one that we did in your car with the engine completely shut off and it was pretty hot outside.
It was.
That one was memorable, man. It was an oven, but I thought for sure we had that one because it was pretty quiet inside the car.
I need to upgrade my my portable microphone for that type of thing. So anyway.
Oh, good. We're here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back for a moment to the first time we met, which I think was 2018. If I'm not mistaken, that was the year you guys were debuting We Are Stronger at Content.
That's right.
Yeah, and I met Carla, I met you. We Are Stronger. Tell us, was that your beginning as an actor? I don't think so, but that's the first I know of you. So tell us how that all fits in with your career.
Yeah, it's really the beginning of the meaningful part of my acting. But going back to even as a child, my mother's a musician, played the piano all her life. My dad's an engineer, but a great storyteller. So I've gotten those gifts from them. And actually, to this day, I regret not learning how to play the piano, which she offered. But, me being a jock and not thinking that I needed to know that skill, I passed up on that opportunity. And to this day, man, I wish I had learned it. But, she was always involved in church and choir and all these things. And, growing up in church, I grew up in a Christian home in Cuba. But growing up in church, I was always involved in some sort of production because I loved being on stage. I loved playing around with other kids and telling stories and being part of the play. So that led into my college career in mostly stage. Actually, not mostly, 100% stage, all theater, which was also a story. I was an engineering student because I thought I was going to be somebody like my dad, and I needed an art class. And I had no intention of going into theater or acting. Once I got to college, I thought that was just a teenage thing. And I'm trying to get my arts credit out of the way, and there's only one class left that's not filled, and it's acting 1. And I said, yeah, I'll try it. Why not? I mean, it can't be that bad, and it's an easy A. Well, our professor, Dr. Tom Little, rest in peace, he talked me into auditioning for the semester's play. The Mad Women of Chaillot. It was a comedy, a French comedy, and he needed a villain. And I said, yeah, no, Doc, I'm not doing that. He goes, yes, you are. You are doing that. I guess he saw something in me because of all the, how easy I was on stage from all those years of playing different characters as a kid. And he said, yes, you are. I said, oh, come on. So he made me audition and he cast me as the lead villain. And I never looked back. I got the buck then for stage and I auditioned for every production after that, got a bunch of roles, got some crew roles later on, production, in the back, building stages. And man, it turned me around because I gave up engineering, and not that I wanted to get a degree in theater or anything, but it really derailed my engineering student plans. And so I got a general business administration degree just because I needed to get out of school for reasons I'll explain in a little bit. But yeah, that stayed with me. It staged throughout all of college. Ton of time that I spent in front of live audiences, which to me was amazing. It was a great skill to have. I firmly believe, and not to take anything away from guys who haven't done it this way, but for me, it was a huge advantage to start with theater first and then move on to film. Just being more prepared. You read the whole thing when you're in theater. You memorize the whole play. You learn how to improvise. If your actor on stage, drops his lines,
that's
you gotta
right.
get him back on. And there's so many things about theater. And, you learn to project and you learn to whisper in a way that the lady in the back row can hear you. And it was a great training. But then I put it down for many years because I was in the restaurant business while I was going to school. And at the end of my degree, I was offered an opportunity to work for them full time for this one particular company where I was at, the Pappas Brothers here in Texas. And they offered me to, continue to grow and open restaurants for them and learn that craft. While at the same time, I have my bachelor's. I've auditioned for a master's program at SUNY Purchase, or, a continuing education program at SUNY at State University of New York. And, I went to Dallas, I auditioned in front of a bunch of schools, and SUNY offered me a spot in their program, for a fine arts degree. And they only take 10 males and 10 females every year.
Wow.
I was offered a spot. I still got my letter somewhere. And it was a fork in the road, Geoff. It was decide whether to continue with my performing and pursue that and move to New York, or take up this career offer from the Pappas Brothers to learn the restaurant business. And as you know, I chose the other career path and learned incredible training from them and many other restaurateurs that have crossed my path along the way, all the way up to opening up my own, which I own today. To this day, 18 years now, we've owned our restaurant. But yeah, so I put it down for a while. And then when I got back into it with Carla and her ministry in 2012 or so, that's when I got into film instead. I haven't done any stage theater since then. It's been mostly film.
Jacqueline's going to be talking with you in the next episode, and she's going to get into more of that dual career aspect and what that's like. Also, you mentioned earlier that you ended up getting a business degree, and I'm sure that has really been an asset to your life and to your career, probably both of them. But we're going to have Jacqueline talk with you about that in the next portion of our interview in part 2. Let's talk about Carla McDougall and her ministry and what that's all about, first of all, and then get into We Are Stronger and where that led.
Yeah, Reflective Life Ministries is the organization that she founded, and it started as a place for her to meet with women and have women Bible studies and seminars, weekend retreats. And I believe at some point she paired one of her books that she had written with a short film. And the short film was hugely successful and very well received by her audience. And she decided to continue that path and create more visual work to go along with her ministry. And, we ended up doing a film early on called First Love. And she knew me from church. She has seen me in a lot of that. Because again, at church, you always, go back, you're pulled in by Christmas productions or Easter productions. And I easily just said yes to stuff like that because I missed being on stage.
Of course.
And she saw me acting and, for Easter or Christmas or whatever. And she approached me about the lead role in First Love. It was a modern day tale about Peter and the apostles. It was a story of a law firm with 12 lawyers. And the lead lawyer moves on to be a judge and he gets murdered. And my character, Joe, which is supposed to be Peter, gets promoted to the head of the firm. So you can see the correlation there. Yeah, the parallel, exactly. And First Love, again, was received really well. And she just kept being encouraged to continue doing film work. So that led to We Are Stronger. Her and Jake Allen, our director of photography. Jake wears many hats, light, sound, everything. But the two of them who have always worked together, they came up with this idea from God that they needed to do a story about post-traumatic stress. And We Are Stronger was birthed. And, she approached me again because we had worked together on that previous project and we had no idea what we were getting into. We didn't know anything about the world of trauma for our veterans.
Right.
And Robin Murray, who's a writer who's been alongside her this whole time, said, "Yeah, well, let's tackle this and let's learn." Well, the learning was that was a movie in itself. I mean, and God opened doors and He equips the unequipped, and He brought people to our doorstep that were perfect for us to learn what that world's about. A very dark world, a very depressing world. That Robin said, I have to write this story with some instances of humor in it because otherwise it's an hour and a half that's going to be depressing for the audience. Because those guys go through a lot. They've seen a lot. They've seen things that you and I, Geoff, are not wired to see or experience.
That's right.
And our men or women in the military and paramedics and nurses and first responders, I mean, they do too. So we enter that world. He provided retreats and people with experience that we could meet and learn. The gentleman that founded Mighty Oaks, Chad Robichaud, he offered for me to spend a week in Paso Robles, California at a veterans retreat. They call it advanced. They don't call it retreats. Marines never retreat. And I spent a week up there with 28 guys that were a lot of them were still in active duty, but their, commanding officer has said, you need to go to this retreat because you're struggling.
Right.
So I'm there sleeping and, eating grub and, spending time with 28 guys that have post-traumatic stress. And that was an incredible experience that really developed my character and allowed me to really understand what I was getting into, to the point where I came back to Houston and met with the team. I said, guys, we have a lot of things wrong on the script that we've already written.
Wow.
Because you can't wake up a veteran that's going through a nightmare like you wake up a normal person, because that guy might grab you and choke you to death because he's having a dream about being in combat.
Yeah.
So we changed a lot of stuff and it helped tremendously, and God blessed us with, the film now has 8.5 million views. This weekend actually last weekend, it was shown in Uganda. And we heard from the ministry there that hundreds of people have called in from all over the country, receiving Jesus as their savior. It's been amazing to watch how God has used that product. Even after 5 or 6 years that it's been out there, there's still people watching it and hearing the gospel through it. And We Are Stronger led to a TV series that is now, it's actually on YouTube. We're about to release season 2.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's called Breaking Strongholds. And,
yes. I've seen the first season, although I admit it was a while ago. I know I would enjoy watching it again, but I did not realize that there was another season coming.
Yep. Season 2 is about to be released. Jake's got a couple of episodes already done with production. And
awesome.
We're about to release those. It's interesting. God has used that product all over the world. But the thing that's happening now currently is the prison system in America is using it.
Oh, really?
We're in 31 states, I believe. Tons of units are offering both We Are Stronger and Breaking Strongholds to the inmates. There's been all kinds of profession of faith inside the prisons from guys that are watching. I mean, suicide is a big thing inside the prisons, and a lot of these guys are veterans. And even the ones who are not are relating to the content that we're putting out there. Breaking Strongholds started more about being the teen suicide story. A young man named Ryan who tried to take his life and he failed. And Vic, my character from the movie, survived his story, did not succeed in taking his life. And now he's using his experience to help others, which is what we're trying to communicate. The purpose, a purpose-driven life.
Right.
It's what we want these guys to understand, And Vic is now a chaplain. So in Breaking Strongholds, my character's still there, but now as a counselor, as a chaplain. And so it carries through 4 episodes in season 1 and another 4 episodes in season 2, which you're going to see soon. And that is also in Uganda on TV and in the prisons. And we're just in awe of what God is doing with everything we've put together through His glory.
Cool.
It's crazy how He's using it.
And I'm guessing when you started We Are Stronger, you weren't already planning the series. How did that kind of transition?
You finish with one film, you start praying, and if you've learned how to listen to God and the opportunities He puts in front of you, you walk through that door. I mean, really, Breaking Strongholds was just the follow-up, and, Jake and Carla felt the need to just continue the story and now go into more of an episodic thing. When we decided to do Breaking Strongholds, doing episodic work was becoming really popular. And we thought it would be easier to shoot episodes and edit those and get those out faster than a full movie, which is probably not true. It takes just as much hard work to do, an episodic project as it does a movie, sometimes probably more so. But yeah, it was just listening. It was just listening to God and Him leading us to take on a subject that's happening here in that area. Montgomery County, where we live, has one of the highest rates of teen suicide in the country.
Wow.
And, there's a lack of God in the family, kids that are guided. They don't have a spiritual direction. They're confused. Maybe they have too much money or they have little money and, drugs, alcohol, even at an early age in high school. So all that leads to emptiness. And then, the suicide attempts. And we have a lot of that in our area. So it became obvious that, hey, we've already tackled a dark subject. Let's go after this other one that needs some attention. And we have a couple of families in the area, very affluent, very well-known families that, again, God provided, right? God equipped us. He brought families to our ministry that sadly, have lost daughters and grandkids and sons. And these people came forth and said, we want to help you. We want to help you understand our journey. And put this series together so we can use it. One of them actually has a charitable foundation, and they go to the schools and talk to the kids about their experience losing their daughter, who was a cheerleader. Beautiful, smart, popular girl, Geoff. Not the typical teen that you would think, oh yeah, she was bullied online and she took her life. No, completely opposite. When Satan decides to disrupt your life and attack you, it doesn't matter where you come from and how you live. But these people have helped us also come up with the story, and it's been great for the community. And like I said, internationally, this weekend in Uganda, all these phone calls over that show, and then the inmates in the prison system. It's been awesome to watch. Really.
Screenwriters, directors, producers, if you're involved in story development, this is for you. This event only happens twice a year. The Faith and Family Filmmakers Association Screenwriting Bootcamp is coming up very soon on January 26th. We've got 3 amazing workshops by professionals in the field, including Cheryl McKay, George Escobar, and Sean Gaffney. If by chance you don't know any of those names, check out their bios on the Bootcamp webpage. To get all the details, go to the website faffassociation.com/screenwriting-bootcamp. Check out the workshop titles and descriptions. I assure you, These online workshops are going to move your screenwriting forward and move you forward in your career as a writer. Register today at faffassociation.com/screenwriting-bootcamp. We'll also put the link in the show notes. There's almost 50 registered so far, and I encourage you to join them. The Faith and Family Filmmakers Association Screenwriting Bootcamp. Take a giant leap as a writer in one day.
It's really cool to see the intersect between film and ministry. And this is a very good example of it. It's happening through various filmmakers and various ministries that are combining the two. But this is a really strong example of this ministry-focused filmmaking.
Yeah.
And it's clear that, with the people who come alongside and get involved and support it and the opportunities for it to impact people, it's really good. I'm really glad that we got to talk about this because it's a great example of ministry and film working together.
I think, faith-based films have come a long ways, and we have a long way to go still, but the product that's out there coming out now is much better than it was 10, 15 years ago.
Definitely.
We need to continue to, to up our game and get better in the talent and our production value.
Mm-hmm.
Everything needs to get better so that we can attract more audiences. And Carla and Jake in our ministry, we decided to go after some dark subjects that maybe some of those themes people don't want to touch, because they're a little dark.
Yeah.
But you got to shed light on the darkness, right? You got to put that light bright on the stuff that's really happening, and it can't just be all good endings and,
That's true.
So, but, and I know a lot of filmmakers who are hesitant to make films where there's too much God in it. In fact, one of the organizations we approached where We Are Stronger that helps veterans here, they said, no, we would rather stay away. We'll give you all the resources you need, but we don't want to be part of the film because it's too much God in.
Yeah.
And we felt that was the main theme. We wanted to show the importance of having God in the story. So I love the direction that our stories are going and what we're trying to do with art and how we're trying to get to people.
Speaking of where we're going, let's talk about where you're going and tell us what have you been doing recently, and then going forward, what's upcoming for you?
Well, had a lot of projects this year that you and I actually run into each other on the set of Empty Net. And that was an awesome, it's first century comedy that Leland Clausen and Nathan Blair put together. I think that's still in post-production, but that was a lot of fun. First century. Christ is a character in the story, but we don't see Jesus. We only talk about him. And I'm probably the least comedic character in that story because I play like a spiritual mentor to the lead, which is Leland. We did that in early summer. I was cast as Paul in a TV series we shot a pilot for a year or so ago. And that's still in the funding process and production process. Would love to get that going. Getting that role has meant a lot to me because I dove into the character of Paul and I've read not every book, but most books that I could find on his life, his Jewish heritage, his transformation, learn more about the man so I could play him properly. And I mean, what a huge responsibility, right? To be cast as Paul. A man that shaped our Christian walk and written most of the New Testament. I mean, be careful what you pray for. I had asked God to give me a role as meaningful and as impactful as Vic in We Are Stronger. And he brought Paul to my lap, and that was life-changing and humbling. So I've done that. Also was cast in a production here locally with a group called Studio 220 Films. You met Jerry Lonkin.
Yes.
At Capernaum Studios too.
Jerry and his wife are in our VIP producers program. Of course, Jerry's got lots of experience with producing, but he wanted his wife to kind of get some of that information firsthand. So she joined.
They're great. They cast me as a retired SWAT commander who travels around the country helping law enforcement officers deal with trauma. And the story is about a female cop who shoots a 14-year-old outside a gas station, and she's dealing with the trauma of killing a kid. And her husband, who's a pastor, asked me to come in and help her deal with that. So again, another post-traumatic stress project, which I really enjoyed because my experience with playing Vic was so amazing. So we have that. And I think he's sending that to Angel Studios to see if they'll get behind it. And then he's also looking for funding to do the rest of the film because we have a proof of concept. It's about 30 or 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. I got the chance of a lifetime to be a featured extra in The Chosen this last summer.
Very cool.
Oh man, I played a Pharisee. That's coming out in March in season 5. And that was incredible. Watching Dallas Jenkins work with the principals. I mean, as close as 2 feet away from me because I was sitting next to a couple of principals, which I can't talk about who they were, not to ruin it for the fans.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing experience. 3 days. And, season 5, we're sitting there. We're in the synagogue, about 80 guys, old Pharisees and Sadducees and elders. And we're talking about how we're going to get rid of this guy who's causing all this havoc, and threatening our way of life. And, we're Pharisees and some of us are saying, yeah, but we're supposed to protect lives. And the other ones are saying, no, but this guy's changing our way of life. And Caiaphas is in the middle, hushing everybody. And we're all arguing and screaming and shouting. And at the end of the day, we're all in the lobby of the hotel feeling it's pretty surreal, Geoff, because, that's probably how it went down. And here we are in full wardrobe playing Pharisees. And we're like, God, please forgive us because we're just actors right now. The discussion in the synagogue is about murdering Jesus. So that was an amazing experience. And I can't wait to see when it comes out in March. I hope I didn't end up on the cutting floor. So I got a couple of things in the oven there working.
Cool.
But, you also got to take care of your restaurant and your business and your bread and butter.
Yeah.
I think everybody that I know that's in this business has another form of income, and feeding people is mine. So,
well, a lot of people do, that's for sure. And as I mentioned earlier, Jacqueline's going to get into some of that with you in our next episode, talking about where business meets filmmaking and how business combines with filmmaking, what that dual role is like for you and more. So we'll look forward to that. And I've really enjoyed talking with you. It's great to hear some of that ministry aspect of We Are Stronger and Breaking Strongholds and what it's doing around the world and how it's touching people. So it's really cool to hear all of that story. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And I'll look forward to hearing myself when I get to do the editing on the next interview, hearing what you've got to say in part 2.
God bless you, Jacqueline. Love you guys.
And you.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.